Hey guys, this is Leticia, and welcome to Holy Girl Hangout. Join me as I discuss the joys and shortcomings of life as a believer. All right, well, welcome back to Holy Girl Hangout. I am super excited for the friend that I have here today. This is someone that I actually just met a few months ago, but she is one of the sweetest people that I know and have known. And my first encounter that I've had with her was when walking into Move Church. I see this woman with this huge smile, and now I get to know who she is and her life and her story. And her name is Jenny. So Jenny, welcome to our podcast.
Hello.
Yes.
I'm so blessed to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you for being willing. A lot of people are nervous to share, and I know that it's not easy to share our story sometimes, but I feel like from hearing bits and pieces of yours that people need to hear it.
Yeah.
People need to hear how God has changed you and how the identity you used to believe, the things you used to think about yourself, and like how you're walking in a new purpose, a new identity.
Definitely.
So I don't know. Tell us like a little bit about you before we start, because they can't see you; they can only hear you.
Yeah.
So whatever you want to share, what do you do? Just whatever.
Sure. Yeah. So I am Puerto Rican, but I grew up here in Woodbridge, Virginia.
Okay.
I am married to an amazing man of God.
He's a good guy.
I've been so blessed with. We don't have kids. It's just the two of us.
Okay. Nice.
And yeah, I'm a visual merchandiser. That's what I do for work. So I set up furniture showrooms.
Okay. Nice.
My degree is in interior design, so I love to decorate.
That is so cool. I did not know that.
Yeah.
That is really cool. You're going to have to decorate my house when I get a house because that would be really cool. But okay, well, let's get right into it then.
Yeah.
So the first thing that I want to talk to you about and get to know a little bit about, what was your relationship with God as a child? What did that look like? And not only with God, but also with the church. What did you grow up as? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I actually grew up Catholic. So I was very involved with the church, and it's mainly because my father grew up Catholic and his family too. It was pretty much all we knew.
Okay.
My father was even an altar boy when he was little.
What is an altar boy? What does that mean?
Yeah. So he would help the priest in during mass services.
Okay.
And bring the communion up and everything. And he actually almost became a priest before he met my mother. So God definitely had different plans for him.
Yeah.
Which I'm very happy about, because then I got to be here as well once I met my mom.
Yeah.
And but we always just went to Catholic church. I grew up going to Catholic schools as well. And we also went to church there. So I would be in church twice a week.
Yeah.
And but everything was just kind of out of duty. It was very much a check the box kind of thing.
Okay.
It was like, if we didn't go to church, then we might go to hell, and so
doing it because you have to
just because I had to. Yeah. So I knew of Jesus and of God, but I didn't actually have that authentic relationship with the Lord. And everything was just out of duty.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people that I know that are Catholic, they hear of Jesus because you guys talk about Jesus. People that grow up in Catholic church or still go to Catholic church, they talk about Jesus, but they don't necessarily have a one-on-one relationship with Jesus.
Yes, exactly.
And I hear a lot that they talk about Jesus, but then they also talk about the saints a lot. And they're pray to these saints and pray to these different people.
And Mother Mary.
Yes. Yeah. Which is interesting.
Yeah. So, and it was also when you did go to church, you can only receive communion if you haven't sinned. I was like, we're all sinners. We're all, and
wow. Did a lot of people receive communion though?
People did, and I'm like, did you really not sit, But then it was if you just sit it out, then you feel like you're sitting there judged, So it was like if we missed church or sinned in some kind of way, we would have to go to confession and just pray like Hail Marys and Our Fathers. And it was all very ritual stuff, ritual prayers. Like I didn't even know how to just have an authentic prayer and conversation with the Lord.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you grew up going to church, going to
Right.
Catholic church, but never knowing how to pray to God
Yep.
in the real way.
Yeah.
Never like, did you talk to God? Like, did you feel like you had a relationship with God, or was it more of just ritual?
It was mostly ritual. Like I was very happy to know God and
Okay.
like know of him and have Jesus in my life, as in like we had faith, you know, we
Yeah.
were believers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely on a whole nother level now.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's another level that I didn't even know existed, you know, because that was the rituals and traditions was all I knew.
Yeah. They didn't teach you any different.
Exactly.
Is there a Catholic Bible?
It's still the same,
it the
Bible,
same Bible?
but we don't dive into it as much as you would just in Christianity, you
Okay.
know?
So it's the same Bible. There's no like additional things or things removed.
It's the same, yeah. So
wow.
it's just not talked about as much, I
Okay.
guess. I mean, we would go to mass
Yeah.
and the priest would do some kind of reading, but it was always such a short message that I didn't get a lot out of it, you know. I was just kind of there to be there, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And sometimes I would really get something out of the message, but it was like I wanted more.
They give you like just a sample
Yes!
and never go past the sample.
Exactly.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you grew up Catholic. What was like a turning point? Like when did you start to desire more? When did you, I don't know, switch and realize you wanted to go to a Christian church? You know,
Yeah.
like when was that switch for you? And before that switch, what was happening in your life?
So before that switch, life was okay.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up like really crazy. I was honestly sheltered. Like I lived in a bubble.
Yeah.
And which sometimes is good, but yeah. But it was just kind of I would say my identity wasn't in the Lord, right? It was kind of in everything else. Or I would always be trying to seek approval because since I was going to church and doing stuff out of duty, it was like, oh, I need God's approval. I need to check the box and do all this stuff to earn his love, right? But then I was also seeking approval from everybody else, from my parents, my teachers, even just peers,
Yeah.
classmates. And my self-image wasn't, you know, what it is now because I just always felt like, well, I'm not good enough, you know.
Yeah. And so that's kind of
And-
how you used to think.
Yes, yeah.
okay.
It wasn't until like really getting to know Jesus, who he is and who I really am in his eyes, that a lot changed in my life.
Yeah.
You know?
And when was that? So
Yeah.
your life was normal. And this is cool that we're having this testimony because some people have opposite testimony, right?
Yes.
Before Christ, they're like crazy and doing
Yes.
this and this. And I have like a little bit of that testimony,
Right.
but not like to the extreme.
Yeah.
And so yours was like a normal life.
Yep.
You know, you had a good life. You were going to church. I'm sure you had, it sounds like you had a good family. Like
Yes, we were
things were
very
well,
close.
you know? And so it wasn't that all of that was happening and it made you switch to Jesus,
Right.
which is necessary for people to hear. Your life doesn't have to be
Yep.
crazy for you to switch to Jesus. You can also just have a regular life and still desire more.
Exactly.
And so I'm glad we're talking about this because a lot of people had that testimony. You know, not everyone has the
Yeah.
I was doing all this stuff testimony. Some people just desired more.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
everything was good and you still desired more.
Yeah.
And that's
There's
really
still
cool.
better. God still has better for you.
Yeah, that is really cool. So, a normal life, a good life. When did you start desiring Jesus?
Yeah, so the switch happened so my parents got me connected to just amazing Christian entrepreneurs. And at that time, they brought me out to a leadership conference.
Okay.
And it was actually at a leadership conference that I gave my life to Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Wow.
it was a 3-day event.
Okay.
So Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But on Sunday, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm supposed to be at church right now. Like thinking I need to get to the Catholic Church. But they actually had a non-denominational service Sunday morning. And for me, I was like, I don't even know what that means. What is this non-denominational?
Like, Catholic?
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're not in a church right now.
Yeah.
It was like in a coliseum. It was a huge event. And there was just a pastor and a Bible. And they had worship music. They shared an amazing message. And I was like, what is all of this? Is amazing,
Wow.
And I don't remember what the message was, but I was so drawn to it and pulled. Like, they did an altar call.
Okay.
And I ran down there so fast. And I'm like at this point, I was usually very reserved, shy, all of that. I would not be the one to just run up right away, but I was just so drawn to everything they were saying about Jesus and his love for us, and just was ready to live for him.
You ran up there.
Yes.
You ran out your seat.
Like, this is a coliseum, and I'm sitting all the way at the top in the back in the nosebleed section. So it wasn't easy to get all the way to the front stage. Like,
but it
had
showed
to go
how
down.
hungry you were for Jesus. Exactly. You were like, whatever you guys are talking about, I need that.
Yes.
Oh, man.
I was like, I love this. I ran down all these stairs, had to go all the way around to the bottom level just to get up there. Yeah.
That shows how quickly we need to run to Jesus.
True.
And like, when you really are hungry for him, you will do anything to get close to him.
Yes.
Wow, that is awesome. Okay, so you gave your life to Christ.
Yeah.
Did you feel anything in the moment, or was it more of just a knowledge that now you know Jesus, or now you have salvation? Like, what was the feeling when you gave your life to Christ? Because some people have this big story of, I felt his presence, I felt this, and others are like, I just knew it was time, and so, like, what was that for you?
Yeah, I definitely knew it was time. I felt joy and excitement, because it really was like everything I wanted, that I didn't even realize I wanted.
Yeah.
And it was just really exciting. I was looking forward to whatever God had in store for me.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the service, the pastor said, find a church that preaches the Bible. And when he said that, I'm like, okay, I go to church. They open the Bible,
Yeah.
They do a reading. I guess that counts. I'm good, because I literally did not know about other churches, the whole non-denominational church thing. And that I didn't find until I was in college.
Okay.
I went to Marymount University.
Okay.
And I was with the campus ministry there, because it is a Christian school. And I became great friends with someone in a Bible study. And they had invited me out to a non-denominational church. And at the time, it was in McLean. I don't know if you've heard of McLean Bible Church.
Yes, I've heard of it. Yeah.
And so that was my first experience with that type of service there, besides that conference.
Yeah.
Right? But in an actual non-denominational church.
Yeah.
And I was just like, where has this been all my life?
Wow.
And so I, for the first time, looked forward to going to church. It was then...
So there was a shift.
Yes, the shift was, I can do this out of delight versus duty, right? But that church was too far from my house.
Okay.
And so I was like, I need something like that closer to home, because it's already hard for me to get up on a Sunday morning,
Seriously.
Yeah. And so that was before I even met my husband.
Okay.
All of that. When I met my husband, he loved the fact that I wanted to go to church.
Yeah.
and that I did grow up with Jesus, at least knowing Jesus.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until after we got married that we figured, all right, now we can start our own traditions, you know? And so he was more into the non-denominational style church, right? And I was like, I love that. I've been to one.
Yeah.
If we can find one close to home, that'd be great, you know? So God planted seeds in our heart through mutual friends that were going to Move Church, where I met you.
Yes. Shout out to Move Church.
Yeah, in Woodbridge, Virginia.
Yeah.
And so we didn't go right away. Like, God kept planting seeds, like, go, you know, like pushing us out the door to get there. And we finally went, and it has made such an impact in our life. Just
it's an amazing church.
Yeah, and just being in community with fellow believers has made such a difference. So
no, it's an amazing church, and it's biblically sound. The people actually care about you. You know, like from the moment that you stand and step on into the parking lot.
True.
The parking people, they're so nice to you. And it's like, you know, normally parking people are just doing what they have to do. But these, you can tell, like, every single person is doing it out of delight, not duty, like you said. You know, like they're doing it because they're serving the Lord, not serving men, you know? And it's such a difference. And so, so you have this encounter with Jesus, you know, you meet him at this conference, you give your life to him, you start going to church. How did your life change when you came to Christ? So again, like, your life was good, you know, things were good, but like, what, did anything change when you came to Christ, or was it more of just you started going to a different church? Like, what changed for you in the practical?
So just getting to have that authentic relationship with the Lord and truly learning, like, who he is and what he did for us, you know, dying for us on the cross and wanting us to live in freedom, was just a total, like, mindset change. It was a different approach, right? And it's also helped me get to have my identity in him versus other things, right? So it helped my self-image on a personal level. So,
because you talked about how you used to want approval from everyone else around you. So when you came to Christ, how did that shift? That specifically.
So instead of feeling like I had to do more to earn his love, I was learning that he's already done it. Like, he doesn't need us to do more to get his approval, because then that would mean that he doesn't already love us, you know, just naturally. And I mean, going to Move Church was like, you don't even have to be perfect, you know. I definitely struggled with you know, wanting to be perfect. And they just love you for who you are. And so I started to love myself for who I am, you know? And I started to love my differences, because I used to want to be like everybody else, you know? Like, for example, I have very curly hair, but I went to a school where most people had straight hair, and I'm like, I want that, you know. I tried to be like everybody else, and I was jealous that I couldn't run my fingers through my hair like they could, you know?
Like, it's getting caught.
It just gets stuck. Meanwhile, they wanted my curls. You know, it's just funny how you never appreciate
satisfied.
What you already, the way God made you. So I started to appreciate how God made me. And just embrace that and realize, and actually through those Christian entrepreneurs, a lot of what I learned at the conferences was that God does not make junk, you know? So stop thinking you are junk, you know? Like, he created you how are you going to put down his creation?
No, that's true. That's a good word.
Yeah.
And people need to hear that today. He didn't make a mistake. He didn't make you on accident.
Exactly.
A lot of parents say, "Oh, you were an accident or you were a mistake," but that might be their perspective.
Exactly.
But it's not God's. He knew you were coming. He knew, and he formed you in your mother's womb, you know? And he was very intentional to make you exactly how he wanted. Yeah. Exactly how you look, exactly with the hair and the body type, everything. And it's a beautiful story because in a few weeks, we're actually going to be studying on this in our Bible study. And we've been studying on identity, and that he made us exactly how we are called to be.
Right.
But a lot of times we're not satisfied with it.
Exactly.
I had that similar story growing up. I had super curly hair. Yeah. And straight hair was in at the time. Yep. And so I always straightened my hair. And what happened? I get heat damage, because I'm trying to be like someone else. Exactly. I'm trying to fit in. I'm trying to, look like everyone else. But that's not who God made me.
That's right.
And he says we are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Amen.
We don't have to look like anyone else. We're exactly who we are. And it's perfect.
Yes.
So, yeah. No, that's good. People need to hear that. I hope y'all heard that because it's about you.
Right. Exactly.
But that is awesome. I know you talked a little bit about this, with me separately, but I know that you said you had, before you met your husband, you had a boyfriend who was very verbally abusive.
Correct.
And would beat you down with words a lot, or just was really negative with you, with words. Did that impact your image, your identity?
Yeah. That was a struggle with, I felt like I was never good enough. Every little thing I did was judged. To the way I ate my food, every little thing. Yeah. And so it was again, having to be perfect, right? And so that definitely affected my self-image, my identity. It was nothing I ever did was gonna make a difference. So,
Yeah. It was hard. It was hard. And so that kind of formed, even though you were an adult, it still was forming what you were thinking about yourself.
Yeah.
And how did you begin to shift that? So you were in this relationship, you began to think these things because this person who's supposed to love you and supposed to, care for you and speak life into you was doing the opposite. How did you begin to rewire your brain?
Yeah.
And I know we've spoken about books that have kind of helped us in the practical, the Bible, other books that we've read. But what did you do to kind of think different, to start to think different about yourself?
Yeah. So it was actually through those Christian entrepreneurs that I learned the power of words and the power of thoughts and how to really transform your mind by diluting the negative with something positive.
Okay.
And so
can you explain that a little bit? What does that mean?
Yeah. So if you're getting a lot of negative input, just really changing it to positive input, not just you have to guard your sense gates, right? With everything you hear and see, it's all going into your brain and being programmed. And negative is automatic. It's going to happen no matter what, right? In the world, we're surrounded by it, unfortunately. But you have the power to dilute all the negativity with guarding your sense gates, also with your words. Okay. And if people are not speaking life into you, you need to speak life into yourself, is what I learned. Okay. And I'm so glad I learned that because it was the best thing. Yeah. Because no matter what I was going through in life, I could switch it to something positive. And so I trained my brain to just switch everything, including how I really wanted to be. Maybe people were telling me I was shy. Actually, in middle school, my teacher wrote on my report card, Jenny is painfully shy. And
You
then,
remember those words
oh
too,
my gosh,
those very
because
specific words. Yeah.
because my parents remember it, and then it was like I was always introduced as the shy kid. And so I just, you keep hearing that and you just think, yeah, I'm supposed to be shy. That's just who I am. But really, that's not how God made me to
Yeah.
be, you know. He made me to spread the good news,
Yeah, and
and
you
I
can't be
can't be
shy.
shy with that.
No.
Exactly. Yeah, so I had to change that to speak affirmations and speak how I really want to be. Like, I'm confident, I'm bold, I am a people person. I love meeting new people and getting into conversations, and I learned like how to speak things like that, and also in the positive present tense as if it already were.
That's
So
good.
not I'm
Okay.
going to be confident, or not saying I'm not shy.
Yeah.
It can't just be a negative. It has to be a positive present tense.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's something I'm really glad my mentor taught me,
Yeah.
because it has helped me in all areas of life. So I was able to use the power of words to just shift everything that my ex was telling me, or anybody around you, or whatever you hear in the world.
Yeah. Or even yourself.
Yourself. That
That's
was
a
a
huge
huge,
one. Yeah.
yes.
That is a
You are the
huge
person
one.
you listen to the most.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, all right, well then let me speak positive to myself.
Yeah.
And not just expect others to speak life into me.
Yeah, because you're going to be around yourself 100% of the
Exactly.
time. So if you have mastered speaking life into yourself, you're good.
Yeah.
And it's what the Bible says, the power
Yep.
of life and death is
It's
in the tongue.
Yep.
Life or death. We get to choose, what words we speak.
Yeah.
And I love that you're saying you can't just say, I'm not this characteristic.
Exactly.
You have to change it into, I am this thing, whatever that thing is. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's very practical, so if you're thinking you're ugly, or if you're thinking I'm not worthy, you can switch it into, I am worth thousands.
Exactly.
I am priceless because Jesus died for me. You can switch it into that tense. It just takes some work. People being willing to do the work.
Yeah. And it's easier to do when you know who Jesus is and who you are in his eyes.
Yeah. That's good. That is good, man. That is so good. I'm so excited we got to have this talk. But I have one last question for you.
Sure.
So, you follow Jesus now. Again, your life was good before, but now you saw there was something even greater, right? Why do you think that people hearing this, people in the world, why do you think anyone should follow Jesus? Like, what is we've heard your story, but who is he to you? And why do you think people should follow him now in this day and age?
Yeah, Jesus is everything to me. He's my comfort. He's my hope, my joy.
Yeah.
I don't know how to live without him. I don't know how anybody lives without him.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I've been able to see that he had so much more for me, and to be able to live in freedom. And I think that when you have that authentic relationship with the Lord, first of all, it helps me feel like I'm never alone. He is always with me. And I think people need that. They need to realize and understand that they're not alone.
A lot of people feel alone today.
Yes, exactly. Especially after pandemic and everything.
Yeah.
Where we were forced into isolation. And I think the more you're actually isolated, the more the enemy is getting into your mind with lies, right? And that can totally destroy you. But if you have Jesus and you know his love, the power of words and everything, then you can dilute that, like we were talking about. You can dilute the lies.
Yeah.
And know the truth. And it's amazing to live life when you know truth. And when you know
you
love.
live differently.
Yes.
You live different when you know truth and love and
Exactly.
real love. What love actually is.
Yes. So I listened to one of your podcasts.
Okay.
I'm glad you sent me your podcast.
Yeah.
And there was one about relationship versus religion, which is very similar to my story, right? So that caught my attention.
Yeah.
And I love what you guys talked about on there about living loved, I think is what you called it.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, that's exactly it. Because sometimes I don't know how to explain, how amazing it is to live life with Jesus.
Yeah.
But I thought that was such a beautiful example of living loved.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what it is.
You live different when you know you're loved.
Yes.
You live so different with such a different outlook on life, with a different hope.
Yes.
When you know you're loved.
Yes. There's like a different pep in your step when
Yes.
you are loved.
Yeah.
And when you feel loved, you're able to love on others.
Yep.
And that's what Jesus wants.
Yeah. Yeah. They say broken people break people, hurt people, loved people, love people, right?
Yes.
And so the more we understand his love and accept his love, the more we can pour that love out onto others, So, yeah.
And that's been like a huge passion of mine now is to just kind of pay it forward, I guess.
Yeah.
And share the love that now I know I have.
Yeah.
To just help others realize they have that same love. Jesus just wants your heart.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about your works.
No.
Like I thought he did,
No. Yeah.
He just wants your heart. He wants to have that authentic relationship with you.
Yeah.
And he wants you to want that with him.
Authentic is like the key word there.
Yes.
Because he doesn't force us. He's such a gentleman in that sense. He will not force us into relationship with him.
Right.
But he wants us to desire it.
Yes.
He wants us to spend time with him, And that's the most beautiful thing. He continues to pursue us, but he doesn't force us, because who wants a forced relationship?
Exactly.
Like who wants to be forced into that? But he knows we need that relationship with him. And so he continues to pursue us, even though we push him away so many times, you know? But I'm very encouraged hearing your word today, hearing your testimony, and just hearing, live loved.
Yeah.
And pursue him. What did you say? Out of desire, not
delight.
duty.
Yep.
Delight.
Exactly.
Yes. Delight, not duty. So if you haven't heard anything else today, pursue God out of delight, not out of duty. Because he loves you and he delights in you.
Amen.
And so thank you for sharing with us today.
Yeah, definitely.
I hope you guys enjoyed this episode and stay tuned for more content.